Verizon is in our neighborhoods, and now they're telling people that they want to swap out their old modems, routers for new ones with a much higher speed. You know, a woman had something that had a speed of 50. They would now want to bring in the 900. And of course, it seems like they're bringing in the Trojan horse with these things. And the question I have for you is, well, one is, we've also heard that they're putting antennas and people are transmitters inside of these modems that are transmitting out to the street, and they're creating hotspots unbeknownst to the homeowner that's putting them in harm's way. And so what people can do is they can say no to any new modems that they're trying to palm off on them, and say no to these 5G devices that they're going to be selling.
You need to say something before the installation, and I can say that happened in my neighborhood, and I called my neighbor and I said, are you aware that you're now a hotspot and you're more vulnerable to hacking? And I said all of those things, and this woman thinks I am certifiably crazy. So, so again, the information needs to get to people before Verizon gets to them.
And this is happening all over. I can't speak for Verizon, but I'm not going to mention this other carrier that came to our neighborhood and did the same thing. And it's really important because they're putting antennas on it that you don't necessarily know how to turn off. So maybe you're someone that says, oh, I want to turn the Wi-Fi off, I'm going to hardwire. You've got your new, fancy new router. You go into it, you have to go in through the computer, you turn off the Wi-Fi. Some have a hard switch, but then these other antennas are still on and radiating these hotspots for commercial use so that anyone nearby can get online. That's like using your facility.
And you're paying
for it, the electricity for it. So one thing that I really recommend is when you take that time, okay, I'm going to hardwire my house, is to get your own modem that you can control, that you know you can turn off and on, although if you get a hardwired modem, it can always be on. It's always good to have them unplugged for electricity reasons as well when you're not using them, but and then you're in control of what's happening, and that's...
Theodora, do you have on EH Trust directions for getting hardwired or for getting your own modem?
Well, we do. We actually have a blog post by Jeremy Johnson of EMNF Analysis. He did a post that we have on our website, which is about how to
get wired.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have another woman blogger who I'm spacing on her name, but we have like how to hardwire your iPod, how to hardwire all of these things. But it is a little it does take, you have to actually spend time with your machine.
And every neighborhood is going to be different. Okay, let's go to the next question.
Who has the microphone?
I do. Hello
Stand
there.
up.
Thank you so much, by the way. Love your presentation. Two quick things. A friend of mine shielded his house with a clay-based paint, or like an Adobe type of paint. I don't know if you've heard of this, or if you recommend it, or if that's something that I heard about. And the other thing I really wanted to know about was, you mentioned a German cell phone that emits no EMFs. I'd love for you to elaborate on that.
Yeah, it's not the one. They probably make cell phones. I never looked into that. But the landlines that literally are not wired emit no EMF. I use Gauss meters in my house to see it. And we wouldn't know a thing until a year and a half ago. One of our friends gave us two of these beautiful phones. So if you get on the internet and put no EMF phones, you can do it. I assume they have cell phones too. I haven't taken that next step.
This is very important. That would not be possible, because in order to operate a cell phone, any kind of wireless device, you need an antenna.
Right.
And so that infrastructure will be radiating everyone in its vicinity no matter what. And so it's not possible.
The phone itself is not
That's not possible. You cannot think about that phone without including, you cannot think about the phone without including its infrastructure.
Well, surely.
And so, and then I know about landline telephones that say that they are no EMF, but I'm telling you, they emit magnetic fields that, so I am not aware of any
Well,
such phone.
explain
They
to
might
us-
emit less,
Yeah. Well,
but they don't, there's no such thing as no.
Explain when you take a Gauss meter. You're checking, you're checking with a Gauss meter
For magnetic fields,
with some magnetic fields, and you're not getting any reaction. What does that mean?
it means you've got a cheap meter.
Well, wait, there's two kinds of
I doubt
meters.
this is a cheap meter. This is a scientific meter.
I'm just talking about what my teacher would say. He taught at the Colorado School of Mines, and he doesn't believe in meters that cost less than $10,000.
Well, wait,
Yes, it is a cheap
let's
meter
talk
then,
about
yes.
the meters. There's ELF Gauss meters, which are going to measure
Magnetic
extremely
fields.
low frequency fields, which are the radiation from electricity. And that's different than meters that are going to measure higher frequencies, radio frequencies. And I should have brought my meters with me. I have them in the hotel room. But this might be one that a DECT phone that when you're not using it, it's not always radiating. And that's a radio which is useful, especially for harmonics. But it,
And magnetic fields.
yeah.
That's
And
what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Putting it off a station and then hearing it.
This is, go ahead.
when you don't. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. how'd you do that?
So that's what I received. Ah.
Right.
Isn't that interesting? So we have a smuggled phones.
Should we go to the next question? Let's go to the next person.
Okay, thank you. Brian, you mentioned that you have a certain protection that you use around your neck, that Anna Maria is very much, she endorses it. Is it available for purchase tonight?
Yes, it's right here in the room over at the table.
Okay, thank you.
It's called High Pulse.
They wanted to make 5G up because it's for digital commerce. And right now, this is something that is really huge and we need to understand. You're doing a great job and thank you. That we have to fight this because this is the battle of all time. Seriously. This is going to despoil down into a huge battle. Because right now, people are being microchipped in Sweden. It's real. And they connect it up to commerce. And they have to have, it's all about money. And they have to have all of this 5G all over the place because it has to do with, for real, surveillance and commerce. It's not self-driving cars. That's just, part of it, a very small part. It's about having us completely enslaved to the web, to the network.
There's another thing, okay, do you know Huawei? Do you guys know Huawei? Huawei. It's the Chinese telecom corporation. It's been getting press lately. I don't understand a lot of it, but the wife of the CEO, I think, has been arrested. Okay.
Oh, yes,
Canada has employed Huawei to install small cell sites, 5G small cell sites in Canada. And Marco Rubio, and I have in my next book, I don't know if I have it on my person, but it's in the hotel. There are two two senators who have written to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Canada saying, for U.S. American security and for Canadian security, we don't want Huawei running our telecom infrastructure.
Exactly.
So that's another thing that you can report to your local congressperson
Well,
who's interested.
the reason being is because these people are hacking us as we sit here today. So why, if we turned over all of our data to them, wouldn't they hack? They have the keys to the kingdom.
Another question. Go.
Hi. this might help the group for 5G awareness. Congressman Swazi is a Democrat, and the Democrats are trying to get universal health care. And would he like to be responsible for all the people that will be coming down with all these cancers? Are we going to be able to afford taking care of all these sick people and children? Which could go
it's a good
with
spin
anything,
on that.
Monsanto, pesticides, poison breast milk. I mean, all these things have to do with that. And I worry that we won't have universal health care because they'll know they're going to be responsible for a lot of people's health. Or perhaps it might get us online to only have healthy corporations that will keep us healthy so the government doesn't have to take care of our health.
That's right.
Can we go to another question?
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. All the great information is wonderful. I happen to have a cell antenna that was placed in my backyard on private property, surrounded by other homes, 60 by 100 lots. And they're doing it because they're saying that T-Mobile has the right, that there is a private easement with Verizon that we have, but they can extend it to T-Mobile and Crown Castle. So you have to be really careful with these people. So I live in Garden City, and Garden City is covered by these fields of radiation, low-lying antennas that nobody's supposed to really know about, I guess, but they're hidden in the backyards. So the board at the village saw how upset the residents were, and they hired a private company for about $15,000. They were Vitatech was the name, and they came from Virginia, and they brought the very expensive unit, like you're saying, probably over $10,000, and they went to anybody's house that wanted to have it measured. So I wanted to let you know that the phones, if you buy an Apple iPhone, the most it's supposed to go is 1.6 is the cutoff for the radiation. So an Apple actually is that standard, 1.6. So, you know, if you look at the graph of my printout from my house, you'll see the phone, they measured the phone, and the phone is about 1. You'll see the Wi-Fi is also about 1. You'll see TV broadcast is like 0.5, and then they measure the cell radiation, and you're at, some of the homes were up to 600 on the graph. So you're going cell, which you can turn on and off through the day, and then you go 24 hours a day, and you're way up high. And there's nothing you could do about it. I'm bringing that up because in New York, the Public Service Commission allows you to opt out of PSE&G smart meters, as well as National Grid smart meters. The smart meters, $777 a month for National Grid and $0 for PSE&G. You just have to do it, and they put a opt-out sticker on your home. But anyway, the point is we can opt out of that. And they're letting you do that because a group of people went to New York, went to Albany, and said, we're going to get sick. And they said, fine, you can opt out. Now, how is it that we can opt out of that, but we can't opt out of the magnitude of radiation 24/7 coming out of the cell antenna?
That's right.
Can you figure that one out?
So I'm going to say every amount of radiation that you can reduce is worthwhile. And so you focus on what you can do. If you can turn your Wi-Fi off tonight, that would be worthwhile.
And you can ask that you be able to opt out for that, because I think it's unacceptable. I mean, next step, right? Do what you can and then work towards these other pieces. It sounds like you've quite educated on everything going on about this, and this is really an important question to pose to people in your community is, hey, I can opt out of everything else. How did this happen? Let's fix this.
Should we take one?
In India, where they have, well, in some ways, in the law books, they have some recommendations and they allow lower levels, which is still not safe. But what's happened there is there are a lot of illegal towers put up and a lot of ways that the regulations aren't being followed. But I just heard on the news, a bunches of them were taken down by people organizing, advocating, saying, that's an illegal one, that's an illegal one, they need to come down, and that's through raising your voices.
Okay.
Yeah. What are your opinions on airplane mode?
Well, airplane mode used to turn all the antennas off. The problem is in some of the newer phones, when you put airplane mode on, so airplane mode is you're on the plane, is other antennas will come on. Well, first of all, I forgot. There's Bluetooth, there's GPS and tracking. There's all kinds
Wi-Fi.
of antennas,
Yeah.
at least.
And do you know the most increasing kind of cancer right now? Thyroid cancer,
Yeah.
because the antennas are closest to the thyroid.
So when you put
In the
airplane
United
mode on,
States, thyroid is the most increasing kind.
it's not necessarily, one, turning all the antennas off, depending on your phone. I've heard some of the newer phones, it doesn't turn it off. Two, you can turn it on, but then, maybe you hand it to your kid, and they're like, oh, I want to do blah, blah, blah. And they turn that on, and that Wi-Fi antenna rises itself up. So you've got to make sure that all of them are turned off. If you're going to, take a video or take pictures, which you can do, there's a lot of applications you can do with your phone without it being radiating or all the antennas on. But the best thing is to turn it completely off, to power it completely off. That's why that is so important. Completely and entirely off.
Okay, so I guess if you each would take a few minutes to make a final closing statement about the summation of your thoughts on wireless and 5G, and then after, if anyone has remaining questions, they can find you after and approach you directly. But in terms of your final thoughts, if you want to leave us with your overall conclusions about all this, if each of you would let us know what you want to say.
You go first.
I go first.
Ladies first.
I'll just say my website is electronicsilentspring.com. I think there are a few copies of my book left on the table, An Electronic Silent Spring. And I'll just say, I'm very humbled by the entire situation. And I read a couple weeks ago that humility actually gives us flexibility in any situation. So I'm kind of going for humility because it hasn't worked for me to know what I'm doing. And that would be true, that it's just, it's a really unknowable, complicated situation, and every situation is unique and changing constantly. So thank you all so very much. I'm really touched by your passion and your concern. Thank you.
Why don't you tell them once again how to contact you?
The website, Electronic Silent Spring, there's a contact form, electronicsilentspring.com.
In your newsletter?
Yeah, I have a newsletter usually about every couple months, and you can sign up for it at the website.
I would say that many hands make light work. And this is a situation where we all need to find what it is that we can bring to the table and use those skills and our love for our family and our community. But everyone has something that they can offer into this to make the meaningful, lasting change that we need on this issue. I can't imagine anything more important than our children's future and our healthy future. And that is the driving force for me. So Environmental Health Trust, ehtrust.org. Also, we have a YouTube channel and graphics that you can share on our website, social media graphics or tips that we can share so people can feel like they can do something to reduce exposure at home.
And Theodora, you've got materials on that table in the
Yes.
outside.
Outside,
hall.
over here as well. And we also have printable materials on the Environmental Health Trust website where you can download and print them yourselves or get them printed. We also have a newsletter. Please sign up once a month. We don't sell anything. And you can get the latest news as to what's happening with electromagnetic fields and wireless radiation. So, and in addition to that, in your community, just like the Citizens for 5G Awareness, if you're not in this area, start a group so people can get educated and have conversations and begin the dialogue. Because what's happened for so long is that there's been no conversation about this. We've just been accepting all of this without thinking about all of these aspects of technology. So you need a place where there can be a dialogue and people can get educated on this. And there are a lot of videos of Dr. Deborah Davis, Dr. Melnick, Dr. Anthony Miller, all of the scientists speaking as that we have on our YouTube and also on our website. So thank you so much. It's Environmental Health Trust. And if you go to our website, ehtrust.org, up at the top, it has the YouTube, and you can click on that as well.
First, I want to give a little honor and respect to these two women that are really fighting an uphill battle. You know, it's hard enough to tell people to save their life with lifestyle, but this is even more difficult because this is an invisible terrorist that's dynamically and dramatically changing the future of humanity. So let's give them a hand for what they're doing. Next, I hope everyone here in the auditorium as well as around the world do not feel more hopeless but more hopeful. When Stephen and I sat in the car 7 years ago in the dead of winter, it was about 15 degrees outside, and he said, you know, this wild idea, I'm going to create something, I don't know what to call it. How about if the real truth about health? And he said, you know, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I want people to know what's being suppressed, what's being hidden. And it grew out of, initially it was all about eating. And then we held our first conference right here on Long Island in New York. And then the second year I said, you know, why don't you bring other experts in? And he spends hundreds and hundreds of hours every year reading the books of these experts. And there is not another conference on the planet Earth, nor has there ever been anyone I know in all the years I've done this work that has dedicated so much time and effort out of the kindness of his heart and out of his own pocketbook to bring truth to humanity. So I want to give a standing ovation to Stephen Shore.
Thank you.